It's Kasim with the Daily Google News, and I'm so excited to be chatting today with Michael Nadalin. Michael, thanks for being here.
Thanks, mate. Really happy and honored to be speaking with the great Google Ads guru himself.
So I'm going to do my best to turn you beet red because, dude, you're a badass. Like, I'm looking at your resume. You work for a referral-only consultancy that does only works with 7 and 8 figure enterprise and medium-sized businesses. And real quick, I just want to pause on that referral only. Is that like a marketing ploy, or you legit won't take a cold prospect?
At the moment, everything is inbound. Firstly, because I can only do it myself at the moment because it's just me. I just recently left the job. It is a referral, and it's not. I've done no outbound, no outreach. It's purely just referral only at the moment.
That's awesome. Oh, so this is your agency. You're the dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that because it says I'm the director at Market Leak. So I wondered like.
I didn't want to put a fancy title like
Sure.
CEO or like founder. So, yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense too because it leaves things opaque, and so it kind of lets you dance into whatever role people want you to dance with. You've worked for 3 of the really big ad agencies.
Yeah, in
which
Australia.
I think that experience is invaluable for a lot of reasons, like learning what not to do, learning how to do it. You've worked with 580 businesses in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And you've spent $50 million in ad spend.
Yeah.
Now, this is like $50 million. Like I mean, are we talking Zimbabwean
Aussie dollars? Some US as well, mostly US clients now. But whilst that sounds like a lot of numbers, when you work agency side, there were times when I had like 70 or 80 clients in my portfolio, or times where 30. So that number can hit up fast a lot. But I'm sure it's the same with you guys. I know you guys have had a lot of rapid growth, and with the years, I'm sure you've probably had the same.
We've got $57 million in our, if you look at our MCC accounts, there's $57 million right now in either management or observation, which when I say that out loud, that's so terrifying. That's like,
yes.
And I haven't added it up over the years. I probably should, but it's such a liability, like it's such a dangerous, like, oh, I could go make $57 million worth of mistakes right now.
Yeah. Mate, I know exactly the feeling. Like sometimes when I take on a smaller client spending 10,000 or client spending $250,000 a month, whilst I feel like in my head, the strategy is exactly the same, you're just spending more, you are spending more. So it's like the responsibility is so much higher. Not that the results or the fluctuations of the campaign management will change, but the responsibilities are so much higher.
Yeah. And I mean, we've made a couple of mistakes. I had a gal, she turned off the geofence on a 6-figure campaign, and it was off for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And, one stray keystroke, and we had to stroke a check. We went and reimbursed the client for that ad spend. And we ran to Google. This was back when Google actually had a support team for agencies. And we ran to them tail tucked between our legs, and they were just like, sorry, no, we're not helping you, which was, those are good lessons to learn. You've been doing this for how long? Does it say here? 8 years.
8 years. Yeah.
Okay. That's like 80 years in internet years.
Well, the thing, and that's 8 years full time. It wasn't like half-assed doing some stuff. It's like full time on the Google Ads stuff as well. So, I've worked with a lot of people who kind of do a bit of Google Ads, but then they do Facebook, they do everything, or content websites, but full in the Google Ads space. So,
And when did you strike out on your own? When was the moment?
Actually in December. So,
dude, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, mate. And it's probably similar to what's happened with you guys. I was watching one of John's videos where he said you guys went from about 60 clients to about 160 or something over the COVID period.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, I think you heard that you work with a lot of agencies, like kind of white labeling or partnering. Is that correct? Yeah, like that's exactly what happened with me. I've got a few friends who were marketing managers at places. They run their own agencies, and they just like hit me up, and and that's where the referral work came from. But it was almost like it all happened at once. And this was probably the first quarter of last year. And then it got to a point, and I was at a really great agency. I was getting paid very, very well. But then I got to November last year. I was like, what? I'm working 2 hours a night on my business, and I'm making 60% more a month than my salary. And I was like,
wow,
I think it's like time to move. So for me, like I'm very, I play the game conservatively at times, especially with like client money, my own like business and things. So rather than just like going like, oh, I'm just going to, burn the boats, as they say, and then just start a business, it was really built up. But it got to the point where it was like, I couldn't say no anymore. Like it was actually more of a disservice to my clients. So I thought, fuck, I've got to do this now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it happened. And it just keeps growing. Like I keep getting referred work. I keep getting people reach out to me on LinkedIn. So you ask me like, what's your website? What's your business? Like, if you're going to promote yourself, what are you going to do? It's like, I'm not going to promote myself. I'm just here just to talk about this stuff. And if anyone wants to hit me up, I've got LinkedIn, but that's it. There's no website.
That's the best way to promote yourself. It's like when you don't want customers, everybody's like, oh, please, dear God, take my money.
Well, it's the same with your mate, Ed Leak. Like I went to his website the other day. I'm a huge fan of his. I've been like,
he's a badass.
Mate, he had a course about 6 years ago that changed my life called The Secrets of Analytics, or there's something about analytics. He's put on YouTube for free. Everyone watch that shit. It is outstanding. It's called The Secrets. Oh, let me get Ed Leak.
Yeah, track it down. We'll link to it in the notes.
Analytics secrets that get every sale in AdWords. Now, this course, whilst I've done a lot of, like, my specialty area was Google Ads, but then I've really gone into the analytics area. So like data analytics, dashboarding, like really knowing the numbers. This was the first training that I went through where I'm like, oh, this isn't just like, here's Google Analytics or here's data, but it's like, how do they actually practically merge? So
yeah, how do they play together?
Whilst this might be a bit dated in terms of the interface, the core strategies are outstanding. So everyone watching this, please watch it. Ed Leak is a badass. I fucking love you, Leak. I mean, Ed. So if you're watching this, mate, hit me up.
Yeah, you're a part of Forge, I imagine, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Dude,
I'm going.
What are you doing, Michael? Right now today.
The problem is like, there's not enough time in my day to like be part of community. I've already got like I call it like my Google Ads Illuminati. So I've got a few mates who are in the US as well, who are like, they work agency side, but they work from really, really, really big businesses with big budgets. And like, we've got our own little clique of like sharing strategies. Yeah. So I will be jumping into another one, but I've already got my own little forge, but Ed's stuff is outstanding. So I can't even imagine what his content's like now. Like,
dude, Forge is nuts. Ed pissed me off. I wanted to do that. Me and my partner were talking about it forever. We were like, we should build a membership. What we were going to do is we're going to start with our SOPs. We're going to give our away, not give away, but we're going to make our SOPs available to anybody that paid to be a part of this membership. And then we would teach them everything that we do, and they could have access to like internal documents. And then Ed rolls out and he charged nothing. I remember, now it's more now, but when I signed up for his God tier ads, it was $100. And I remember buying it thinking this is going to be dog shit. Somebody paid for some PLR content. But I buy everything just to be sure. And it was gold. Yeah. It was gold. And then he adds to it and he adds to it and he adds to it. And then he rolled out Forge and I was like, well, he just killed the membership model for everybody, because again, he charges nothing and he gives so much. He's like a social
seen online at the moment, like the real dudes are not charging that much. Like regardless what industry, the real people who are not internet marketers are charging a few $100. Yeah. If you start seeing 997, 1997 or higher, you're just going, I've got a big issue with that whole industry as well, because
the info marketers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think especially in the consulting space now, it's really, whilst it won't affect the Google Ads side much, it really is like ruined the Facebook side, where people do a course. They're like, what high ticket item can I sell that has high margins? And it's like consulting. What can I consult? Facebook ads. And then they just sell that. And then it just kind of like ruins the market, because people who are actually specialized, who can actually offer the value for actually usually a better price, are getting pushed out.
Yeah. First, you're buried in the noise.
Yeah. And there's so much noise, especially in the Facebook sphere, because everyone goes, I've got a Facebook account. I can run a Facebook. And then they look at Google and like, oh, it's just numbers on a screen. I can't do this. So very different there. But I've obviously heard your views on Facebook. I'm pretty vocal about it on LinkedIn, where it's actually, people hit me up a lot about like, oh, this is so amazing. But I'm getting a lot of people going, hey, can you just shut the fuck up about this stuff? Like, it's really like affecting us. Yeah. And you got to be wary of stuff. Like, people are protecting their businesses, not just like they're getting so defensive over Facebook, but you got to service your clients at the end of the day. Mm-hmm.
You have to protect your clients from themselves, and you have to protect them from the faulty narrative. I can't say I've 180'd on Facebook. I've broadened my view, and it's been since we started using Northbeam. You know about Northbeam?
No.
It's an attribution software. Now, John and I invested, so we stroked the check. So we're partial owners. So whatever disclaimer people need to know. But we started using Northbeam And it showed us how many touch points were actually involved in a conversion. And when you're just in the Google Ads dashboard, especially when you compare Google to Facebook, it's so easy to get like high and mighty and realize like Google is so much better than Facebook in every way. When you zoom out and you look at Northbeam, we saw the participation that, and not just Facebook, like every ad channel on the planet, we saw the participation they had in the conversion process, and it's not negligible. Like Google's better at tracking and reporting, but GTM's really greedy. So Google always says, oh, that was me. Oh, that was me. When we were able to zoom out, Northbeam was like, actually, Facebook played a really big part in bringing this person to the conversion event. It didn't convert them, but it nurtured them. And so I think the Facebook narrative is flawed. And I think most Facebook ad agencies are full of absolute, complete caca.
Yeah.
but I do think that an omni-channel strategy, I think that that's the approach that most businesses, especially if you have more than 10 grand a month to spend, start to diversify your traffic channels. Not that I'm not here to push my ideology.
Whilst I'm a Google Ads only agency, I still have clients doing Facebook because I've been doing that and I know how to do it. I know how to do it like effectively, like in a very focused way, but I'm not going to put all the eggs in that basket.
Right.
A lot of businesses are relying on Facebook being their only channel, but if at the end of the day you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And if you can't manage it, you're out of control.
7-day window, and there's a 3-day delay in attribution. It's like, how would you manage this anyway? I have to wait 3 days to make a decision on a 7-day window. So that means that I have, you know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable.
And I to be fair, like with my clients, I still go into Google Analytics and the advanced reporting and looking at the multi-channel, like the multi-touch reporting to see that. And like, it is part of it, but because it's not a last click thing, sometimes it gets missed. Facebook's guesstimated conversions are like, sometimes they're real, sometimes they're guessed. And that makes a real issue because it loses trust. Like I was chatting to a business owner in Australia who does about 50 mil a year in e-com sales. And he was half Google, half Facebook. He's cut all his Facebook out because he's like, I can't, like, you know, it's just not working anymore. And whilst it does work for some businesses, some of the times, a lot of my enterprise clients or clients I've worked with in the past doing $300 to $500 million as a business who are using it. I spoke to a marketing manager last week who was like, dude, we just, like, I'm not doing any of their advertising, but he goes, like, Facebook is just cooked for us. Like, we've just stopped it. And this is a huge brand in Australia. And it's like, you know, whilst I can give my own view, it's like, I've got to listen to that 7, 8, 9-figure businesses and what they're saying, because I can have my own bias view. Google Ads is amazing. I make money off it. But then at the end of the day, you've got to go, well, it's not amazing for every business, not all the time. It is expensive and it is difficult at times, but you've got to be aware that not all glitter is gold. And I think Facebook, sometimes people are like losing perspective of like, once it was great, the data, the abuse of the data they once had was great, but now like the audiences are shrinking, the data is shrinking. iOS 14, I'm sure you've heard about the Android's version of iOS 14 where they're going to start doing the same. It's like, whilst Google, that's not going to affect Google at all because there's no way they're going to kill themselves. That's going to affect Facebook more. And it's like, we've got to be realistic about this stuff. It's not that we just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've got to make sure that like, this is real money. This is big money. This is business money. You can make such a huge impact on businesses. So yeah, that's my little rant on that.
No, it's a good rant. And it sounds like you fish in a much bigger pond than I fish in. Most of our clients are, you know, in that SMB world, most of our clients are small businesses. And there's such a paradigm shift once you get past that. It's kind of like the 6 figures a month in spend. That seems to be the line of demarcation. You know, and there's a couple of maybe more, there's a couple of segments underneath that. But once you're at 100 grand a month in spend, I've noticed that clients are kind of receptive to, oh, we're going to go test, we're going to experiment, we're going to whatever. Anything sub that, it's like, I need this back. Like, I'm giving this to you temporarily, and in 90 days, I expect you to bring this back with friends. So it's got to be kind of a fun sandbox to play in.
No, definitely. And I still have clients who are spending 5, 10 grand a month, like, but it's mostly now working with bigger clients because I've worked at agencies where I've worked with the small clients for years. And it's just kind of like, I've realized through my last few years in my last agency, like, oh, working with bigger businesses not only is better, it's actually easier. And it's weird to say that, but
no, you're absolutely right. The small businesses there's a desperation to it that makes it difficult.
That's exactly it. You're working with a marketing manager who will have technical expertise versus a business owner who is more, this is my money. Please make sure that You know, a lot of the times when I've spoken to people, they're like, I'm still hand holding them through. I'm like, I get that's part of the job, but then sometimes I'm like, look, I really am here just to do the work. And I know that's part of the sales process, but I've got to be aware that you can't do that all the time. And like you guys are amazing at that. Like you put out so much content so that when people have come to you, they've already bought in, they've probably only done their research. So what you're saying to them is the same they're saying on the video. So it really helps them out. But you know, I don't have videos out there. I've just got LinkedIn posts going. Facebook ain't good.
Well, so here's the problem is the videos, if people aren't up to date, they have the wrong narrative because Google changes so much so often.
Yeah.
So, you know, anybody who's watched a 4-month-old video comes to Solution 8 thinking like, oh, you can do this with, you know, with SaaS, right? And we're like, well, we used to be able to do that now. And which leads me to the thing that I really want to talk to you about, Performance Max.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it sounds like you're having the exact same experience we're having. Holy shit.
Mate, it is unreal. Firstly, everyone watching this, the work Solutions 8 and Kasim are doing is outstanding. Like they release videos all the time and they're up to date. If you watch a video from 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, it's going to be out of date fast. So I want to say to you directly, mate, thank you, because what I've implemented on clients is what I've learned from your videos. Like straight up, like there's no one else who I've learned it from. I've been reading like Fred Valli's new book, but like
that line around here too.
It's good. What we're talking about now, mate, is like this scared me. This is where I'm like, oh, I can't be complacent anymore.
I disagree with 51% of what Fred says.
Oh, interesting.
No, I really like Fred. He's a buddy. He's been on the channel a couple of times. Here's the thing is if you open this book up, the foreword is by Ginny Marvin.
Yeah.
Who's the Google Ads product liaison.
Yeah.
Fred's in bed with the enemy. You know what I mean? Like he's his whole, and you know, he's employee 400, invented conversion tracking, really brilliant guy. And I don't think he's lying. I think that he's wearing the frock. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of bought into the Google, I don't want to call it the Google lie, but the Google story.
Propaganda.
Yeah. So here's the problem is if you go to the root of it, and dude, I actually really want you to challenge me on this, Michael. Please.
No.
Google knows how much we make, what we're willing to spend, how much inventory there is, and who else wants that inventory. This is the perfect environment for price fixing.
Yeah.
It would actually be impossible to build a machine learning mechanism that didn't optimize that way.
Yeah.
Unless you intentionally went out and said, don't do this. So Google's not an auction the way we think it used to be an auction. And this is a conspiracy theory, but I feel this way strongly. The data you give Google is given at your detriment. And so you want to give Google the least amount of data you possibly can in order to be the most successful you can. So it's kind of like finding the apex, the peak of the bell curve. Fred thinks that you open the Komodo, give Google the data. And I'm just like, dude, no, hell no, absolutely not. Because all that's going to happen is we're all going to get squeezed. Google, the way that Google calculates CPCs, this is really interesting. If you go look at their documentation, there was a name for it. I forget the nomenclature, but they introduced a convention, a bidding convention that forced a minimum cost per click arbitrarily. An arbitrary minimum cost per click that was independent of the auction. And their response was it was like an attorney wrote it. There was like, oh, we want to make sure that our customers are met with, quality, whatever ads. And so we have a minimum. And when I read that, I was like, well, that's bullshit. And then now, dude, I don't think the auction exists. I think the whole thing about ad rank and the way that the auction is calculated and the victory auction model and all that stuff, I think that we're so far removed from that. Google's not trying to deliver traffic based off of a meritocratic ecosystem. Google's trying to deliver based off of how to maximize its own inventory. And so I think playing into that is damaging to all of us.
But I definitely agree. And I had those thoughts years ago when they start to put out the target CPA. So if they're wanting everyone to do it, then it pretty much means that like you don't have any outliers pulling it down, but like Google can slowly keep pushing up the
dude, it's a race to the top in a bad way. Yeah.
So when you say that, I completely agree. Like I don't have a disagreement. And once you like it never really was like well, whilst it is a cost per click model, there's always like the quality score stuff. And now they've got, rather than it just be like cost per click times quality score, it's times like 50,000 or 500,000 other data points. So realistically, our bidding is like 1 out of 500,002 metrics or data points. So yeah, I completely agree. And I like, when I'm reading this, like I've got to come from like I said, Jenny Marvin wrote in it, Frederick Valley's like, he owns a software that he wants everyone to go on. Like, this is definitely,
dude, which is great. Have you played with Optimizer?
I have years ago, but I havenn't recently.
It's badass. It's badass. So I don't want to talk anybody out of it. Buy Fred's book.
Yeah. No, it's
dude. Fred is, and here's the other thing. Fred has a house in Silicon Valley, right? Like, he's made way more money than me. He's smarter than I am. He's an engineer. So clearly he's a voice that you should listen to. But buy Fred's book, play with Fred's software. I think that we're playing with fire here a little bit.
Can you hear me? Sorry, my audio just cooked itself.
Yeah, I've got you. Are you still there?
Sorry, it said my earbuds connected, but they're closed. Yeah. Sorry, I missed the last bit of what you're saying, but
I was just saying that Optimizer is worth playing with. Fred's book is worth reading. I feel like this is so self-serving. I feel like we're the rebels and they're the evil empire.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. Yeah. But you've got to be aware, like, the technology is changing, and you've got to just stay up to date with industry leaders like yourself or Fred or Ginny. Like, and whilst you might not agree, you've got to be like, well, we need to know the enemy strategy so we can kind of work around it.
That's exactly right.
Like, a lot of what I'm doing now is about the workarounds, because whilst they're wanting everyone to go in the box, our success will come just like on the fringes. And you're like, I noticed from your videos, you say that, like, it's whilst they're trying to limit a lot of stuff and data into a black box, which if it pulls the results at the end of the day, like, you've got to think about the clients, like, they're not paying for our black box of information, they're paying for the result. And whilst we can all have our egos and high horses, oh, we're better than everyone, the best way to just say you're the better is just get the result. And I've noticed that if Google does deliver results from this, like, a lot of my clients, I don't use target CPA on because it's not working. I still use manual cost per click with enhanced CPC or maximize clicks because I can like configure it more. But with e-com clients, I will use smart shopping on everything now. I'll always start off with standard shopping so I can review the search term reports, clean it up, make sure that if feeds like optimizations to the feed need to happen. But then as soon as that's clicking along, smart shopping will go all the way. So
no, I like this. I like where we disagree, Michael, because I think it makes for a better video. So I don't want you to take this as being combative.
Yeah.
But when you say, like, who cares about the black box as long as it's working? I think the smart shopping, I think it's a perfect example, because smart shopping is a black box that works. You know, you plug in smart shopping, it's like 4,000% ROAS. But what's interesting is, and there's no way to prove this, obviously, because it's a black box, but it's all your traffic. It's remarketing traffic, branded traffic. It's all the lowest hanging fruit. So all of a sudden, the black box kind of works against you, because when it comes to new customer acquisition, the only way to get new customer acquisition out of smart shopping is to lie to Google in a way that destroys all of your data. So I don't know. It puts us in a position of being at the mercy of their decision making.
Yeah. That the brand part and the remarketing part, I've heard from a lot of people as a big concern now. I posted something on LinkedIn the other day about this. So, and people were like, oh, but isn't this branded traffic? So I went from two brand campaigns, like one brand, people looking for coupons, and then a smart shopping. And then I put Performance Max on. The smart shopping was operating around 950 to just over 1,000%. The client goal is 1,000. So like, we're trying to like figure it out, like very thin margins. The branded campaigns are only doing like 150 to 800% return on ad spend. So it's really not like a 2,000% ROAS. When I put this like Performance Max, I did this, the results are so much better. And people are like, oh, but it's all brand. I'm like, no, here's the data of the brand over the last 90 and 180 days.
We're maximizing brand.
If anything, brand's pulling it down. So but it is case by case. Like, a lot of this stuff for any Google Ads account is always case by case, but you've always got to start off with full control, being it manual CPC, a shopping campaign, and then you can start to like plug in the automate. I'm finding this, you guys might have a different strategy, but I know that, like, I just wrote it down. Like, I start with manual for search, manual, and then manual with enhanced, then target CPA. Or shopping, I'll do shopping.
Wait, let's go back to that, because this feels like a value bomb you're about to drop. So the way that you start all campaigns, start over.
The way I start all campaigns is manual, like for search, just search and shopping, manual cost per click. So, sure. And this might be, I'll kind of talk about some other stuff, but manual cost per click with
then enhanced.
Then once I get about 5 or 10 conversion, then I put enhanced, because enhanced is there for conversions. If you don't have conversion data, Google's just going to put another 20% on it.
Right.
But once you're getting that and you're getting, 30, 50 conversions a month, then target CPA can work really well. At the same time, like I said, I don't really use target CPA because a lot of the big clients I work with, whilst they get a lot of conversions overall, there's a lot of campaigns because they're segmented by regions or different campaigns. So it might only get 20 conversions a month. And I need to be more flexible based on like market trends to be adjusting bids. So that's there. And yeah, there's something else I wanted to mention, but I've already forgotten.
Well, so while you think about it, because it's going to come back to you, do you think manual CPC is going away?
I don't think so. Look, the only way, I think it'll go away and you just change it to maximize clicks, and then you just turn that to it, and then you put a CPC bidding on it. And that's the thing. I actually use a lot of maximized clicks on clients now, but always with a cost per click bid limit, and really, really on top of the search term report, because that will just like literally just like pull in all the rubbish.
Yeah.
And actually, that's what I wanted to say. And I know this is just kind of going off term. I watched a video yesterday where someone was saying, you were answering questions. Someone's like, how can I outsource the search term report cleanup? And I just think to myself, I don't think that's the fun part, but I love it because that's where you win.
It's the most important strategy you're going to get out of. It's the best data.
And Google, I was listening to a podcast the other day where Google recommends check your search term report like every 6 months. I'm like, I check it with a new client every single day.
Right.
I'm in there and I'll manually select all the bad terms and then press exclude, just so I've got a cross next to it so I know I've excluded it. I'll also have a text doc next to me so I can just get like the phrases, the small terms that might be like PDF or something else.
Yeah.
And another advanced hack is, I've noticed this and I wanted to share this. Google is refining the search term data, what they're showing you, but there is a bit of a hack and a workaround. If you're linked to Google Analytics, you can go in there and it will actually show you most of your search terms. So if you go into analytics, campaigns, Google Ads, search term report, you can actually start to see search terms in analytics that Google Ads hid from you. So
interesting. I didn't know that.
It's a really advanced way just to like keep refining that search, those search terms. Because at the end of the day, if you can just clean all the traffic up, after time, you'll just get a clean river of just like search terms. Like the goal at the end of the day is just to get clean, pure traffic.
Right.
But if you're wasting all this money on traffic that doesn't work, like you're just wasting your money. And I know for one of my clients, they're a SaaS software. I'm targeting all the type of keywords that I need to target. Google, can you hear me?
You came in and out, but you're back now.
For one of my clients, I started using a dynamic search ads campaign and a few days ago and got a lead from it, but it wouldn't show me the search term. I was like, this doesn't help me. So then I went to analytics. It actually showed me in there, and it was a keyword theme that Google prediction didn't show, the keyword tool didn't show. So like I found a keyword theme that it literally built out my account by like twofold now.
Well, so I have two questions. The first one is inside of analytics, the phrases that you're seeing that you're not seeing in Google, Google's giving us a lot of 0-click phrases, which I really like because they'll like show you where you might end up spending and wasting money. The phrases in analytics, is it only click phrases, or are you seeing zero click phrases?
I'm seeing, so in analytics, it will show, this is the thing, it will show 0-click, but then on another column, it will show you sessions and it will show you that they've had a session. So I don't know if there's a bit of a gap between, they might have said it, they didn't click on it, but there is a session that's triggered for that search term.
So it could be 0-click with a positive session at the same time on the same row.
With, session visits like time on site. So
Wow.
I don't know if there's a bit of a lag between data pushing through, but this was, I can't show because it's client data, but
Sure.
this was Google Ads that showed DSA campaign with 1 conversion. I went into Google Analytics. This search term had 0 clicks, 1 session, and 1 conversion next to it.
So is that a view through conversion, you think? Is analytics reporting all conversions?
No, because analytics, like DSA showed a click for it.
A DSA did show a click for it. Yeah. Okay.
So,
wow. So
we're getting very in the weeds here, but like when I mentioned,
no, that's important.
I want to talk about strategy as well, because these small things, these are the 1%ers that if you do 1, 2, 5, 10, you're 10% ahead.
Right.
So it's the small things that really add up, I've noticed. Yeah,
it's Kaizen. I really like that, man. That's a hell of a pro tip, using the analytics search terms. I didn't realize that they would differ from Google Ads that much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through that at my strategist. What else do you have, Michael, without me trying to like rip your brain open and make you give the secret sauce? Like, what can you give our listeners and our viewers?
Oh, mate. Well, I'm conscious of your time. I don't know how much time we've got. I've got
let's run it. I've got time if you've got time.
Hell yeah. I'm firstly, once again, mate, this is amazing. Like, even when I logged onto the Zoom and I saw your face, I'm like, wait, this isn't a YouTube video. And now we're friends, so you have to talk to me.
Now we're buddies. That's right.
Yeah. This is like more of a philosophical approach to this stuff now. So I've just noticed with the clients that the bigger clients I'm working with now, the thing I'm noticing is like you get the results. Like that's a given. You've just got to get the results. There's no bypassing that. The part that a lot of agencies or people miss who run Google Ads for people is the consulting part. And it's really like this part, like the word consulting has really been ruined by internet marketers. But if you go back to the original term of like a consultant, like a business consultant or like a lawyer or someone who's actually highly qualified, like a specialist at anything, when I've been speaking to really big clients, you're getting the results. This is where the real value comes from. So they're not just paying you because you can do the work, they're paying you because you're helping make their life easier. So I just noted a few things, like a lot of what the clients I've worked with who are the big ones, they're like, yeah, like we know you get the results, but like we just want to chat about market trends and how the competitors. And this goes back to another little, I just wrote in like Google Ads vanity metrics, and every agency's like, we don't report on vanity metrics. And I'm like, well, if you're not talking about vanity metrics, you don't have good clients, like big clients, because if you've got small clients, conversion cost per lead, ROAS is all important. But when you get bigger clients, vanity metrics like impression share, competitor insights are so valuable, because those market trends are so valuable for them. Like if they've got a core area that the impressions are down by 2,000 impressions this month, which could be 20%, that's going to impact their business. And during COVID,
it's almost not a vanity metric anymore. Now it's a KPI.
That's the thing. But it's these terms that people are like, oh, we don't do vanity metrics. Like every metric is valuable if you use it. Like we can't just like bastardize terms because like you just want to use it as a sales pitch. Like I speak more about vanity metrics with big clients than conversion data, because I've built custom dashboards out for them. They know their results, but when they're talking to me, they want to talk about market trends, what are happening with their competitors, where are the growth opportunities, and these things shouldn't be overlooked. And I don't know what you guys do, but I just know
we do exactly what you're saying not to do. We tell people vanity metrics are bullshit. Don't pay attention to them. That's what other agencies want us. But to the point you're making, we've got, I don't know what it is. It's less than 20. We've got less than 20 clients that are in the 7-figure spend sphere.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it was as readily apparent to me until you said it, but it's obvious that that's important. Like impression share is very obviously important. You know what I mean? The number of impressions they're getting is very obviously important. And so it instantly lifts out of vanity metric mode, and it becomes, this is what lets me know 6 months from now, we're going to have a big drop, or a big spike, depending on what it is that we're looking at.
And during, like I'm in Melbourne, Australia, so we were having all these lockdowns, and a lot of service-based businesses, like I had a big enterprise painting business I was working with. And because of lockdowns, painters couldn't go to houses. So there was a trend going down of impressions. Now, that's obvious. But then whilst we're still in lockdown, the impressions were going up. So, and then leads were increasing because people knew that these lockdowns were ending. And then then this business needed to know to invest more money to capitalize on the trend changing a bit. But if we're just talking about cost per lead, conversion rate and conversions and all that, you're not going to capture this opportunity. And because we're on this like a hawk, we knew that when the market was trending up, we're like, hey, like people are searching now. Lockdown's still for another 2 weeks, but this is people probably proactively searching for a painter now to start, you know, when the lockdowns are done, to get their house painted. Yeah. So it's whilst those are still vanity metrics, like you can't overlook it, because big businesses rely on data points like this to really shape decision making internally. Because it's just like, it's not just like you get a lead and sell. Like people have to hire salespeople and consultants to match the work. The last thing you want, the worst thing is, what's worse than not getting leads is getting too many leads that can't be serviced.
Right.
And you're underselling, or you're not selling properly. And then, you know, the client isn't happy because they're like, oh, we got too much work. And it's like, there is a fine balance, but this can be like a prophecy of things to come, essentially.
Well, that's the scaffolding to put on it. So this is what I'm thinking. Like if you and I were building the glossary of terms for digital marketing, it's only a vanity metric if there's nothing you can do with it. Yeah. So if I come to you and say, hey, Michael, look how many views I got you. You're like, I can't eat views. And that's my favorite thing to say. Like, I can't eat clicks. I can't eat comments. I can't eat shares. I can eat conversions. Like those are, you know, that's so the vanity metric stops being a vanity metric as soon as it gives you the opportunity to make a decision. Yeah. And the stronger and more important the decision, the less vanity attached to that metric.
Definitely. And if you're working with a certain type of business that, like an e-commerce business, this doesn't matter for. Like if they've got a certain budget and they want a certain ROAS, it doesn't matter. Like my goal is the ROAS and the spend. But then if they are talking about scale or growth, like this is where that's important. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking with like bigger businesses spending, you know, 100 grand, 250, 500 million a month, these are the numbers that are going to drive investment, because they need to go back to their marketing teams or their like board of directors to get additional budget to capitalize on this. Additionally, I've got a few clients, or I've got a client that I'm catching up with in 20 minutes that is a SaaS product that they're the leader in their market. There's only like their leader and then there's them. Their product is better and it's cheaper. But this other company does about 50 mil a year, and these guys aren't doing that yet. But I'm looking at impression shares, like on certain keywords, like the money keywords, which are the ones that convert and get the sales. And I'm looking at like what the competitors' impression share or like outranking is versus ours. And these things are really important metrics when you're going head to head with someone, because it really is a competition. It's a race sometimes. And it's not about position, but it's about impression share. Or even once someone gets to the site, how long are they on the site for? How many pages are they visiting? Because the more engaged they are, the more likely they are to convert. And I've noticed you've mentioned that recently, like you're moving away from landing pages to sending traffic to high quality websites. So then
dude, I think landing pages are going to die on the vine, and Performance Max is the reason why. You know, Google's pushing this 500 impression 500 touch point narrative. You need to be in front of somebody 500 times. Yeah. And if you've got a squeeze page, there's no way to send somebody to a squeeze page 500 times, but I could send you to my content rich website 500 times.
Yeah. And I work with a lot of landing pages. I don't design them, but I work them because they do convert. But I think the journey, if you're going from a last click model, they work, but if like nothing's last click anymore, right? Especially for high ticket items, people are researching, and you've got to realize.
I think that's my favorite quote of all time, or at least definitely this interview. Nothing is last click anymore. There is no last click. Like you're always at the middle of the journey, even if they bought. Like think about the middle of the journey. What's next? Where are we going?
Yeah. And that's something else I wanted to share, especially for e-commerce clients. Whilst Google can be flexible about their reporting, in Google Analytics, you can compare attribution models. So you can go, okay, a last click e-com model versus a linear or not data-driven in Google Ads, but you can look at first click versus last click or position-based. And you can significantly see that ROAS could be 40% higher on a different attribution model. Yep. Now, that's why they say don't use last click, because they know that no one buys just off last click. Like people do their research, Google it, click on something, come back to the website multiple times and purchase organically or directly or through an email funnel. So they know that. And I think like if you got big clients that you can use data-driven on, beautiful. But if you don't, I reckon using position-based is like so important. Like, what are your thoughts on like conversion attribution?
So Google just made data-driven attribution inside of Google Ads the default. And I think
even for small clients,
across the board, across all accounts. Police me, by the way, let's fact check me real quick. Hold on. Data-driven. So because data-driven attribution wasn't available unless you had a certain amount of spend.
I think it was like 300 conversions a month on that goal.
Yeah. So Google at the end of 2021 made data-driven attribution the default attribution model for all Google accounts.
Interesting.
And they did that in preparation for Performance Max. Because yeah, so that's me and John were talking about this. Google kept doing all this stuff that made no sense. Data-driven attribution became the default. And we were like, well, that's weird because first of all, not everybody was allowed to use it. And then all of a sudden they opened it up and made it the default. And then like customer lists were allowed for everybody overnight. A bunch of really weird, and we realize now that they were positioning for Performance Max. I don't think, I'm about to say something that's going to get me in so much trouble because I know there's going to be a million exceptions.
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford, you have to at least start with data-driven because Performance Max is so multi-touch and you're talking about an infinite number of combinations when you think about all the assets, asset groups, targets, audiences, and then touches. So it's four-dimensional, right? So there's the assets, the audience, the touches, and then time. I don't see you, me, or anybody else being able to look at a standard attribution model and really making sense of it. I think we have to rely on the machine learning. So I think data-driven attribution, because of Performance Max, if it really is what we think it is, I think it just became the gold standard. Now, this is on the heels of what John has been saying, and he's really the smart guy at Solutions 8. I'm just the mouth, he's the brains. But his whole thing is, there are no golden rules. So what I just said is a golden rule is, you know, I mean, like Performance Max has actually brought about this ecosystem where there are no golden rules. But with that said, if you were to put a gun to my head, I'd say data-driven attribution because of Performance Max.
Yeah, definitely. Going and talking about that, that really comes back to in Unlevel the playing field. They don't go, the human can't outperform the machine now, but the machine can't outperform human plus machine. And what I've seen in Performance Max, but all my campaigns now is for RSA ads and now Performance Max. I hate saying this because I'm a data guy, but like the creative is going to be king. Like your creative, and that's, I know this is opening a whole thing, but the things I really wanted to talk about on this call was about like the whole consulting piece for big clients. Like that is so vital, but creative now, whilst Google in the past you could just write an ad, get some clicks and analyze the data yourself. Like the optimization and like the analysis side is becoming hidden, but where we have more leverage is creative. So you can't bypass this. There's no bypassing with just like a shitty banner and no video. Like you need a video because you've probably seen what Google's.
They'll create it for you, dude. Isn't that the scariest thing you've ever seen?
Dude,
have you seen the videos? They're horrible. They're little like 2005 PowerPoint presentations. They're god awful.
So and if you do Performance Max, you got to realize like that can affect brand. And a lot of people, once again, this is a whole big thing that Google won't be able to bypass. There's always, people do have brand limitations and they can't put themselves on certain networks or certain websites or things like that.
I think those people are going to suffer greatly.
Yeah.
I think those are the limitations
they want. If they're like these big enterprise, like American companies or ASX listed companies that have really strong brand guidelines, they don't want to lose them. They'll have like workarounds. And I think they are offering workarounds soon where you can have placement exclusions.
Oh yeah, they've teased it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. So
yeah, you can do it.
We've been teased with features like that. Is as much as, you know, negative keywords for Performance Max is something that I think has been publicly teased. Privately, they've, you know, mentioned that there are some things that are in, you know, currently in alpha testing. But even so, I think that people that try to put too many exclusions or too many rules on Performance Max, I think they're going to do so at their detriment.
Yeah. The only exclusion I always want is mobile app placement.
Your what placement?
Mobile app. You know, when you're playing a great game. So, and the annoying thing is in Google Ads, you can't exclude it. You can only exclude in the Google Ads editor. I don't know if you guys, it's like, that's one of those things that I don't want my ads showing on when people are playing like Flappy Birds or.
Well, and all the exclusions are one at a time. Like you think they'd allow us exclusion rules.
Yeah.
But I think again, that's Google trying to maximize the value of their inventory, which just sort of is what it is. I know you've got 12 minutes left. I don't want to bogart the rest of the call.
Yeah, the last thing I just want, like in terms of the creative, is like the copy you're writing for Performance Max. Like my big thing is really like direct response, strong US, like strong unique selling points, like punchy stuff, like not going, we're so good. It could be like 40% off this week plus 10% off with this discount code, like really, really pushing the value, because writing boring creative is not going to break through anymore. Because if everyone's playing on the level playing field with Performance Max or all these other things, you've got to have copy that stands out. And it really comes down to just like really short, punchy. Like we're used to short headlines because of Google Ads copy over the time, but really clear and short copy, because, like I see so many ads and I'm like, these are boring.
Yep.
Like, why would anyone click on this? Like, even if you've got a boring product, like it's a B2B product, humans are still humans. People will see something that stands out and will click on it. So you need to look for just, these are the leverage points we can have with like great banners and videos, direct response copy, or really clear and punchy copy, and then just like the consulting piece I'm finding as well.
Yeah, the thing that I like about Performance Max, well, not the thing, there's so many things I love, but the asset groups being audience specific puts you in a position of make copy that's so targeted, targeted not just to the audience, but also targeted to where they are in the funnel, like what they need to hear in that moment.
Well, I saw John's video this morning and he was sharing some results. I don't know if you've watched that.
What was it? Who was it?
John's video?
This morning? Oh yeah, was that the internal video?
Yeah, was that about how he segmented out an audience?
Yeah, dude, that was made for our employees. Like we weren't supposed to publish that. And I watched it and I was like, dude, we've got to post this. Like, you've got to let me post this to YouTube.
Oh, that was really valuable, because they're the small things that help people like me or people who are really on the forefront of this. We're all in this together. Like, that's a really important thing for me, because I've just started testing out Performance Max. I'm like, okay, this is a valuable insight that I can start to segment out myself.
Yeah.
So like, keep sharing.
Dude, those insights are nuts too. What Google's given us, there's a lot of like weird, like for instance, Google's reporting, Performance Max only reports on all conversions.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird, right? Like you look at that and you're like, why?
Well, I'm going to be straight up with you. I've only used it on e-commerce clients. I haven't done any lead gen. So
well, I see what you're saying. Why that would make a big difference.
Yeah.
But even e-com, you'd have, add to cart as a conversion. I guess if you don't have a conversion value to it, though, that doesn't matter. Yeah. So never mind. I was trying to.
Yeah. No. But keep going, because this is still valuable to me and anyone.
Well, so if you're looking at e-com and you're trying to, with e-com, you're protected because you actually have a cart value there. So it makes it academic, but you're still tracking, there's 5 conversions that take place for an e-com product before it's purchased, right? You have view page, add to cart, click checkout, purchase, whatever. So maybe that's 4. Well, if you're tracking all conversions, every purchase now has 4 conversions, you know what I mean? And so now they don't all have a conversion value, but then the conversation John and I had in a video that's about to be posted is whether or not Google, that's juicing the algorithm. And if so, is something like view product over influencing the algorithm? Should you remove that from your tracked conversion actions? Because if Google's deciding like everybody that views this product might be a viable candidate, it could be sending the mechanism off in the wrong direction. So it just felt like a really weird decision that they would report on all conversions instead of the conversion, your conversion goal, especially they rolled out conversion asset or conversion groups. What are they called? Conversion sets. They rolled out conversion sets, again, in preparation for Performance Max. I feel like that alone would necessitate the ability to delineate between the conversions that are inside of the conversion sets. Because I understand giving Google like the predictive indication of what's going to work, but then to bundle and to say that all conversions are created equal, like that goes counter to the conversion set narrative. Anyway.
I think that's why they always want you to add conversion values to things, which you've talked about, but that's more on the lead gen side rather than the econ space. But it's like the great thing here is like, this is still very primitive, and there's people like you who are on the forefront of it. So whilst you might go, oh, there's all these issues, you're still in the top 0.01% of this. And that's like really going to shift the dynamics of your business, that, what people were doing 5-10 years ago is not going to work anymore. Like, I love picking high intent keywords and doing negative keyword lists and having super tight settings, good ads. But it's like, I love that because I've been doing it for so long and I'm good at it and it's relatively straightforward, but I've got to realize that's not work. Like, that's not going to be the future. So whilst we're having the discussion, oh, this sucks, this is better, let's strategize about this. This is like us in the primitive stages of a new technology now. And like the old days are gone. And if people aren't realizing that, then good on you. Like have a good job in an agency. But like if you're running an agency or you're running client and it's your responsibility, you can't bypass this. There isn't some like, oh, we'll wait till like it's mandatory. Like you got to do it when it comes out. Like RSA ads, they work. I get higher click-through rates, higher conversion rates. This is a simple one, but image ad extensions. Like I'm sure you guys use image. Like every image ad extension, when I do the reports, higher CTRs, more conversions, higher conversion rates, and lower cost per leads. Like the small, like image extensions is easy, but like talking about RSAs,
well, Google auto applies image ad extensions if you don't add them. Like you can't not use them now.
Yeah, but they work. The thing is, they do work. I love that. That's one of those things that I do. Out of all their changes over the last few years, image extensions, I love.
Yeah, that's a good pro tip for us too, dude. You're so much fun to talk to. Yeah, I know there are a billion things that everybody has to do as an entrepreneur, but you should do a channel. Like you would be a great voice in the ecosystem.
Thank you for saying that. And I'm going to snippet that and then share it around to people. Like, see, we want to hear, like, you know, Kasim from Solutions 8, the biggest Google Ads agency in America, is saying this. So I'm pretty good. Nah, I appreciate that. There is, I think what they came down to is like, I've worked agency side for years with a lot of clients and you just see things. So these aren't like, whilst these are original ideas to me, it's only because I've been in environments that have like stimulated. I'm not sitting in a forest and just like going, oh, how can I evolve the industry? I just look at where the gaps are and then how to fill them. Like my business is more, whilst I do Google Ads, I position myself more as a consultant because that's where the gap is. Like, and that's like when I was talking about that before. So yeah, I'm potentially going to start doing more content, but you know, between trying to build a website, running client accounts, talking to clients, it's one of those things. But yeah, mate, thank you for that's a very nice compliment from you.
Yeah, well, anytime you want to come back on the channel, let me know. I'd love to have you back. Anything on the thing I'm most interested in, just to throw my cards on the table, I want to know when I'm wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And you're very clearly one of the people that could like kind of call me out on my bullshit and be like, hey man, here's where I just, so you know, it would be very respectful, Russell Brand-esque, but like if you're ever like, oh, I don't like that, let me know, let's shoot a video on it, because I think people are going to get way more out of that.
Well, what I come down to at the end of the day is like, I won't disagree with you. I'll just let the data do the talking.
Yeah,
like if it doesn't
exactly
work,
right. Here's what I think is going to happen. Here's what Michael thinks is going to happen. Yeah.
Well, realistically, I watch your videos. I love your content. And when I see something, I'm like, actually, that's applicable to my clients. I'll implement it. Some clients it works on, some it doesn't. I don't go, your ideas are stupid. I go, no, it works for some clients and others. But then you could say that about anything. You could say broad match keywords. Like I run broad match on some clients because it does work.
Right.
But most of the time I won't do it. But that's the thing. There is no golden rule. But mate, if you want to have me on again, I'd love that, because like it's an honor to chat to you. So if you want to chat again and go deep with stuff, like I feel like, you know, we've been chatting for nearly an hour and I feel like we could just keep chatting, because I feel like I'm rushing through things because I really want to.
Oh, dude. Well, and every idea spawns 2, 3, 4 more ideas. But yeah, man, let's do this again. I'm going to post this ASAP. If you're watching this, this is Michael Nadalin. Michael, if somebody wants to work with you, where do they go? How do they do that?
LinkedIn. That's the only way. Like I am not doing emails. I only do strategy calls at the moment. A lot of people I'm actually doing like paid consulting for. So like they've got some clients it's done for you. A lot of my clients are done with you. So bigger clients, because like, and then I'm doing a lot of just like consulting, but that's just more for agencies. I've got a lot of agencies reaching out being like, can you teach us?
Dude, we don't do any of that. I'll refer you all that work because I can't. It's too hard.
It is hard. It's a good paycheck, but you got to realize. So yeah, just look me up on LinkedIn. That's it.
I'm going to include a link to your LinkedIn profile in the description of this video. If you're watching this video and you want to be a guest on the Solutions 8 show, go to solely.com/pitch, solely.com/pitch, and let me know what you want to talk about. And I'd love to have you on. Michael, you're the man, dude. I'm going to give you the last words. Any closing for anybody watching?
I promise them. So there's a company called Data Slayer, which is outstanding. They're not paying me. I use their software. I pay for it. They're so amazing for data integration. Use Data Slayer because it will make your PPC life easier.
Data Slayer. I've never even heard of it.
It's a cheaper alternative to Supermetrics.
Dataslayer.ai?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I'll include that in the description too.
Yeah. That's not a paid promotion. I love them. They're the best company. If you want to make your life easier, use them.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you I really appreciate it. I hope I get to chat to you in the future. Like, your content is extremely valuable. Thank you on behalf of me and the people I work with. They reference a lot of your work as well. So you're a bloody legend, mate. Had to put something Australian in.
Awesome, brother. Thanks, man.
Okay.
Wait, before you go, I'm constantly looking for amazing people to come join our team. So if you're passionate about Google Ads and you're passionate about customer success, please go to solate.com/apply. And we'd love to see you as a part of the Solutions 8 team. Also, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that we actually know what we're doing. And don't forget to subscribe. We shoot a video every single day, and I don't want you to miss out on any of it. Lastly, if you have questions, comments, concerns, confessions, or you just hate my face and my voice, go ahead and hit us up in the comments. We get very little human interaction, and even the heckling is something that I kind of get a kick out of. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being subscribers if you're a subscriber. Don't forget to apply if you're interested in working at Solutions 8. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.